Welcome to today's episode of Mindful Medicine. I'm your host, Tracie Jones, and we're here with Dr. Jim Schrenker. If you've been watching for a while, you have noticed that we have went through each one of the chakras. Well, today, Dr. Schrenker, I would like to ask you to educate us and tie all 7 of them together.
Right. None of the chakras can be taken on their own, which is why in Mindful Medicine book, it took so long to figure that, to write that book, because you had to figure that out. It's the base chakra is influencing the solar plexus, it's influencing the crown, because you're just one giant conglomerate of that energy, right? It's not, nothing is separate. So if we look at each one of the chakras as an antenna that's both able to receive and broadcast. So your base chakra is free will choice, and it's picking up anything that is about choice. So if I come in and try to limit your choices, your base chakra is going to get alarmed. And if you're trying to project your choices towards other people, then your base chakra is going to be projecting. But if we say we got a solar plexus issue, we don't just have a solar plexus issue. If you're dealing with a liver issue, you're dealing with the solar plexus, but also the inability to release, usually anger, holding on to that. That's going to affect the sacral chakra, which is all about family and friends. So you're probably going to have some constipation or bowel issues as well. That's why all those GI issues are kind of fundamentally strung together, because they're all affected by those different chakras. So you got the base chakra that is choice. You got the sacral chakra, which is family, karma. You got the solar plexus chakra, which is about self. You got the chest chakra, which is about the unconditional love between you and self, and you and creator, creator and you. You have the throat chakra, which is about following your truth. You have the third eye, which is your faith, and you have the crown, which is hope. The predominant chakra that is affected will determine the majority of the symptoms. But if you look at the base chakra, that is our human chakra. That is what we do every day. Everything we do on earth is base chakra.
So that's kind of like your foundation.
Yeah, that's your foundation.
The
That's
foundation
who you are. You can't
of your
get
house.
You can't get away from it, because that's who we are. We are physical beings. We are trying to sort through these emotions. We're trying to sort through anger and fear and love and joy. Base chakra is involved in everything. Now, from there, not always the sacral chakra, not always the solar plexus, but always the base. It's always about a choice. You always have a choice. Am I going to acknowledge this or not acknowledge this? Am I going to act on this information or not act on this information? So that's always involved. And as that gets activated, if your family relationships aren't up to snuff, then that's going to activate the sacral chakra. And then if you have some self-deprecation, or you have some self-loathing or things like that, that's going to activate the solar plexus. Of course, then your thorax, your heart chakra, is going to be screwed up, because if you don't like you and you're upset with your family and your choices suck, then how is that relationship with self and creator going to be good? Then you get into the diciness of the throat chakra. Am I just going to lie to myself and say everything's good? I'm going to put my nose to the grindstone. I'm going to stay at a job that I hate, that's going nowhere, that gets me nothing. I'm going to stay in a relationship that is not good for me or the other person. So there's your throat chakra. And then all of a sudden you have your faith. Do you have the faith that you have laid out a plan that's going to work for you? This is your plan, but do you have a faith that that plan's going to work? If you have faith that that plan's going to work, then why are you doing A, B, C, and D? And then hope. Do you understand that you're surrounded by love? Do you understand that there is absolutely no wrong choice that you can make? There's just a choice. There's no wrong choice. It's like, oh my gosh, I should have gone to school. No, you didn't. Okay? Either go back to school or move on. you're still going to get to where you want. What do you want? What was school going to give you? Security, money. You can get security and money without going to school, and obviously that's just one example. But when you start putting them all together, you have to understand that all of them influence your health. All of them influence cardiac disease. All of them influence diabetes. It's just how are they influencing those and how much are they influencing those. So being aware of what each chakra does, understanding that every chakra is turned on all the time. And if you're having a particular issue, it may not be your issue. There's a lot. We're all empathetic. We're all empaths. Some of us know how to turn it off. Some of us don't know how to turn it off. If you're an empath and you can't turn it off, don't go to Walmart.
Right.
Don't go to the big box stores. Shop local, because you just can't handle all the stuff. And a lot of the hypochondriasis that I see, or some of the hypochondriasis that I see would be a better term, isn't hypochondriasis at all. It's their chakras are wide open and they're receiving all this energy from everybody else. So, oh, my chest hurts. Oh, I have palpitations. Oh, I have reflux. Oh, I have irritable bowel syndrome. Oh, I have this. Oh, I have that. Well, why don't we just put on that suit of armor, cover up those chakras for a while, mend some of that energetic issue and watch the symptoms go away. So, if you're having a lot of issues spread out all over the body, maybe we need to systematically kind of put a filter on those chakras and all that empathy that you have.
Right. And I kind of make a joke to people around here. They'll be like, don't you feel this? Don't you feel that? Or, oh, so-and-so, has the flu or something like that. And I always say, oh, well, that's okay. Don't you see my invisible bubble?
Right, exactly. Exactly.
I only let in what I want in.
Exactly.
I'm bouncing that stuff off.
Right. I don't want any of that.
Right, but I do. I sometimes, in my mind, I put an invisible bubble around me.
And that's the key. How can you listen actively? How can you be involved? How can you cry with somebody? How can you empathize with them, but still understand it's their crap?
Right, and not take it on as your own.
Right, and don't take it home.
Yeah.
And every once in a while it leaks through, but I'm pretty good at knowing what's yours and what's mine, and you can have yours.
Yeah.
I'll stick with mine.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's part of energetic healing as well, especially if you have a practitioner working with you in your energetic field. You do have to be open to a point to feel what they're feeling and to know, oh, I feel a problem here, because they may not always tell you.
Right.
And you start getting a headache or your stomach starts hurting and realizing, oh, that's not mine. That's theirs. Right. Let's work in this energetic field here. Let's work on this chakra. Let's work on these auras and things like that. But no, it's theirs, not mine. So I'm not going to take it with me.
Right. Let me ask you a question. What techniques do you use to protect yourself energetically, psychically?
Well, the first one is really
the bubble.
Right. I mean, that is a big one for me.
Right.
But also,
and how do you do that?
In my mind.
Yes.
Sure. In my mind, I physically draw a bubble around me.
Right.
And I can see the bubble. It's like a clear plastic bubble, kind of like the Bubble Boy.
Yeah.
Nobody else can see it, but I can see it in front of me, to my sides, and behind me.
Right. Yeah.
And it really does help.
Right.
Because I know in my mind, it's like, this stuff is going to just bounce back.
Right.
It's not going to penetrate through here. It's not going to get into my energetic field. It's not going to get into my heart and soul.
And it is as simple as that.
Yeah.
Mine is a suit of armor. Same thing. I put it on. It's impenetrable. I'll let in whatever I want to let in. And it is just literally putting one foot in, the other foot in, suiting up, and then moving forward. The other technique that is very helpful, if you're directly connected to somebody that's close to you that is zapping you of your energy, take a pair of scissors and envision that connection as a ribbon between those two people, and cut that and let them go, let them float off just like a balloon. That little imagery is amazingly effective. Now, you might have to do it a couple hundred times in a day to make it stick, right?
Right.
But if you do that and you do that repeatedly, then eventually that energy is just going to separate, and that is very helpful. So, yeah, so there's techniques that you could use that are really simple, and you can, I'm sure there's websites that you can go to show you how to psychically protect yourself from things. But, yeah, there's all sorts of things that you can do energetically. You don't have to feel like you're a victim. You don't have to feel like there's, I can't go anywhere because of this. And if you're staying at home and you feel agoraphobic that you can't go out, a lot of that may be just the fact that all your chakras are wide open. Let's find a practitioner and work with shutting them down appropriately.
Right. And I think there are days where, for me, you may forget that bubble, or you may forget a piece of your armor or something.
Right.
And so things do affect you a little
Right.
bit more than they typically would. Or it's
or
somebody,
the people that know how to penetrate it very well.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Oh, yes.
Right? There's those magic people that know the exact word, the exact look, the tone, the frequency, and you're like, oh.
Yes. And being able to be mindful again,
Right.
catch it and go, okay, this is just a little trigger word or trigger whatever. I have the choice now of what I'm going to do with that.
And that's the whole key to everyday living. It's being mindful. And when we talk about mindfulness and we talk about meditation, yes, you can sit there and you can chant and you can do that, but it's how can I do this throughout my waking moments all the time? How can I be aware? And the more you are and the more you're aware of your body, and don't take your body so seriously sometimes, not all the time, but if you're feeling some palpitations in your chest or some anxiety, okay, what's going on? What was just said to me? Or a lot in my mind, what am I thinking about? Mm-hmm. What fantasy have I concocted in my brain to where I'm being persecuted or I'm being threatened? So understanding where your thought process is, understanding where your train of thought is going, understanding what the people around you are doing, protecting yourself, being mindful of how it's affecting your body, and where it's affecting your body. What chakra is it? What's the truth that correlates to that, and then move on.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I try to tell people when they talk to me about different things. They're very emotional, and rightfully so. And it's like, okay, let's sit on this for a minute. You're very emotional right now. Let's take that out for a minute and go, what is the truth? In all these emotions that you are feeling, what's the truth? Is this emotion that you're feeling really the truth?
Right.
If they're feeling like they're a terrible person, they're a failure, are you really?
Right.
Because, you're a child of God, therefore you're not a failure. You're not a terrible person. So
doesn't preclude making bad choices.
It does not. It does not. But just in that moment of, and I have people around here going, yeah, I sat on it like you like you always tell me to. But it does. Sit on it a minute and go, okay, let's let this sit for a minute, and what is the truth? Mm-hmm. What are the facts? And then let's go from there.
Right. Very good. All right.
Do you have anything else to add to
I think it's done.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you so much again
You're
for
welcome.
a wonderful episode. It's always fun. And thank you for watching this episode of Mindful Medicine. And remember, you are loved.